I've gotten a few questions in the comment section, mainly on Facebook, and also I feel like I should address um, the topic when it came up, Luke's letter. I'm not 100% sure what Luke is talking about when he refers to. Um, he said I embezzled, or, geez, you'd have to look back at Luke's letter where I read it. $10. And everybody, and then you guys like Kevin B. Um, saying, "Yeah, well, I was curious what happened to that 600,000 too." And I'm thinking to myself, like, and you got guys like, other people in the comment section just going, "Oh, good thing we're buddies," ha, ha, ha. And like, no, well, listen. So I've never been presented with the opportunity to take $600,000, with the opportunity to be given $600,000. Um, I mean, I have an award-winning smile that's worth at least $1 million, but um, with that said, I mean, the only thing I can think of is the fact that me and Della Moore sat down and collaborated on a grant application. We each presented separate grant applications for the DRI, the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, that the city was awarded. Geez, what was it, back in 2017, 2018? It was 29. No, it was a while ago that we actually wrote for the grant. And then some of the local board members reached out and said, "You two should collaborate to make one grant." And I said, "Okay, well, we both sat down and said, that's a great idea." So I had written an application for a grant for the oldest building in Olean, and Della was writing one to find a home and develop a home for the African American Center for Cultural Development. So we had collaborated together to take grant money to fix up the oldest building in Olean, and it would then hopefully suit the needs of the African American Center for Cultural Development. So essentially, we were either going to create it where, so we applied for the grant. We were asking for, like, I think the number was like $325,000 to do the repairs, and I think that was like the maximum that they would allow us to take, anyways. And it either created a situation where I was getting all the money, putting it all into that building, and then having to like have Della as a tenant for an indefinite period of time, or her organization would buy the building from me and then do it that way. And the feasibility of it didn't work. If Della was a tenant, she's a 501c3. I own the building as an individual. So putting $325,000 into a building that's worth like 75 grand on a good day means the building is now worth $400,000 or something, and it wasn't conducive for me to own a building that would be taxed. So in the city of Olean, you have a building. If you have a building that's worth $1,000, $20,000 in taxes is like the running average. So if you have a building that's worth $100,000, it's $6,000 you're paying a year in taxes. So now 6 times 4 is 20. We're back on. As you can probably guess, doesn't have a large revenue stream, but they also don't have a large amount of expenditures. And obviously, over the past few years, they've developed, a larger donation base, but it's not on a regular basis anyways. It has been like here or there for things that they absolutely needed. And so we figured the best thing to do was for me to sell the building to Della's organization, and then they wouldn't have to pay taxes on it, and they would have this building that suited their needs, and that would diminish me having to charge them rent of a minimum of $24,000 a year. Like that was, so, I'm a nice guy and all, but I'm not, I can't like subsidize their rent. And they just put a bigger onus on Della and took away from more of the work that the center would be doing because she'd be doing more fundraising than actually doing the walking tours and all the things that she does. So it just made more sense. So sat down with her board of directors. I said, "Hey, listen, you know what? I bought the building. I got this much into it. I'd like to see, 60, $75,000. You know what I mean? But it's for a good cause, and I gotta make a profit. I didn't buy it just to give it away. So I said, let's do 50. And that puts a little bit of scratch in my pocket, and it goes towards my kids' college fund or whatever. Like, that's what I buy rental properties for, right? And it was still giving them a smoking deal on the building. Especially because of the amount of work I put into it. And I was going to be their project coordinator through the entire DRI project renovating the building. So I think I was like going to make like $15,000, which for a year or two of my life, 15,000, that's a lot of work for $15,000. Um, and then their board was like, well, how about 40? And it was like pulling teeth. And I were we 40? I mean, it's fine in my pocket, and I've got to be the project manager. Um, and then I want to say a year and a half had gone by since we agreed to sell the property to them, and they got a donation in like 2020 for $40,000 to buy the property. And Della was stoked, and she set a board meeting for 2 weeks so she could make sure as many board members as possible could be there. And the week in between, why are we going to go buy Doherty's building and then borrow the money from a local bank, put it all into it, and then hopefully get reimbursed by this, and then we still have another building that we got donated to us. So it was just a big mess, and like they were like, we're just gonna take the building that was donated to us, put the 40,000 into it, and then just kind of wash our hands of this grant because we have a better opportunity, there's more likelihood, less risk of making a go of this. I'm actually, I've got the day off work tomorrow. I'm tearing off the roof, and we're putting a roof on the main upper. So I've been slowly working on it and just dumping more money into it. So um, we've got some ideas what we want to do there, but there's nothing that's solid. Um, I'm open for anything. So if anybody out there in TV land has any ideas what they'd like to do with the building, if anybody out there in TV land would like to buy the building, that's fine. I've got way too many projects going on, but I'm not going to own a building that I'm going to let it fall down. I'm not Linda B. I ain't gonna do that. So, but that said, that's the only thing that I can think of where there was like even a talk of hundreds of thousands of dollars, that was like I was even involved with, and that $325,000 is, I mean, I'd have to check with the ERI, the Economic Revitalization. No, that's the RIE. It's some board that was set up for distributing grants from the governor's office and yada yada yada. So I would I mean, I'd have to check with them, but I bet you that grant funding is still sitting there. But it's getting on the 5 year mark since we wrote the grant, and we had 5 years to use it and have the project completed, and we are nowhere even near the original project scope. And given that it has to be the oldest building in Olean being restored to historical value and being the African American Center for Cultural Development. So unless Della wants to have a second location, which I highly doubt she's going to want to do, you know what I mean? It's one of those things. So the grant just fell by the wayside. But that's the only thing that I can think of. Um, I wouldn't be constantly like just like piddling away at making my house look nice and piddling away at putting money. If I had $600,000 that whatever they're saying I squandered or embezzled, or if I used it on drugs, I'd be dead. You know what I mean? Like there's I'm and that's all aside from the fact like there's no evidence to show that I embezzled $600,000 or weaseled away $600,000 from orphans, women, and children, or anything like that. So, and there's no evidence of it, and there's no like that just negates the fact that I would never do such a thing, because I view myself as an ethical person. Now, some people out there are like, well, can't smoke pot on YouTube, so you can't be ethical. Well, yeah, maybe that's how you look at the world, but um, anybody who knows me knows that I wouldn't embezzle money, knows that I wouldn't steal $600,000 from anybody. The state deserves a lot of reform, but stealing $600,000 is not going to do any of that. And yeah, see, and plus, how do you steal $600,000 from like the state or whatever? But unless you're considering grants, is it related to what I just talked about, or is it not? You know what I mean? If it's not related to that, then fill me in, because I would love to know where $600,000 that apparently belongs to me, or if it's $600,000 that is stolen, then let me know so I can go. We can help get it back to whoever it belongs to. So thanks, guys. Peace. Talk to you soon.